Hey guys, welcome back for another video. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. A little windy, probably can hear that. But it is like probably, I don't know, low 60s right now, high of 72 degrees today. The leaves are just starting to fall a little bit, and I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to get done. So back here, I've got a big wood pile that I've been meaning all summer long to work on splitting. And I've got to work on that today. Fall's coming and I have no firewood left for our fireplace for this winter. I burned everything up last year. So I've got to get some firewood split. I've got this little buck here from last year that has been in my freezer, and I've been meaning to do just a real basic, simple European mount on it. And my preferred method of doing European mount is actually a process called maceration, which basically you just leave it out. I've got another video, I'll leave a link down below, but you basically just stick it in a bucket and you leave it for, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks with actually an aquarium heater, just so you can keep the water temperature up above 90 degrees. And you just let basically the bacteria just eat everything away, and it's a super easy way to clean a head. But it's getting cool outside now, so it's harder to do that outside. Stinks way too much for that process to do it inside. So I'm just gonna boil this one, or I'll simmer it and get it mostly cleaned up. So I got my freezer space cleared up for this fall. And then I've got a mess everywhere. I just came back we were in Colorado a week ago, and I've got all this camping stuff. I've got motorcycle tires that I need to change. I've got junk laying everywhere in my shop. And then in addition to that, so it's Sunday today. On Friday, this coming week, I actually close on my next flip property. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I buy and sell houses, and I've got a house coming up that I'm gonna be closing on. And just with the weird market and raising interest rates, I'm gonna try to get that house done really fast is my plan. So I wanna get the trailer organized, make sure I've got all the tools that I need, and make sure I'm ready for that upcoming flip. So I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to get done today. First thing I'm gonna do is run over to the neighbor's. I'm gonna borrow his log splitter. We'll get that back, and then once I do that, I will get my turkey boiler, turkey cooker fired up, and we'll get the simmer going on that deer head. I changed my mind. Before I go over to the neighbors, get the log splitter, I decided to go ahead and get this thing caped out, get it in the water. It'll take a while before that thing gets boiling. So it's one of the things I like about the maceration method. You don't have to even cape out a head. You can just throw the whole thing in the bucket of water, and the whole hide and everything will dissolve. So that works pretty good. All right, so we'll see if we can get this old girl fired up. This is actually a turkey cooker that I found at a house that I flipped. I'm probably gonna have to use 2 hands to do this. House that I flipped a few years ago. I've never even used this thing. All right, had to use 2 hands, but there we go, we got a flame. All right, add a little water. All right, so my game plan here is just to let this thing, I'm just gonna get it up to a simmer. When I tried to do this before, I brought it up to like a rolling boil, and I was fighting the water boiling all over the place, and had a hard time getting all the meat off the bone. So what I'm gonna do this time is I'm just gonna bring it up to a really slow simmer, and I'm gonna let this thing simmer for hours. So I run out of gas probably, but I think that approach hopefully might do a little bit better at getting down and get everything loosened up. So we'll see how it goes, but for now it's time to get the log splitter. before I put this thing to work, I think I'm gonna do a little bit of, I wouldn't call it maintenance, but I'm just gonna check it over. So I might pull this cover off so you can see this. So this old log splitter, again, it's my neighbor's, and I'm gonna say, I don't know, it's probably been at least 6 or 7 years ago. He was splitting wood. I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but somehow he got a piece of wood kind of jammed up between the frame and the, oh, I know what happened. I think he was splitting some real knotty stuff. And so if you've ever used a log splitter, you know that if you get into something that's real knotty, and this is hardwood, it can sometimes get stuck on the splitting anvil. And then when he retracted it, he didn't realize that it was stuck on there. And so there was a chunk of wood that was down here, and it came back and it smashed into the engine, and it actually put a big crack in the, I don't know what you call it, I'm not a small engine guy, but in the jug or whatever, the top of the engine. So pretty much thought it was shot, and I said, well, let me see what I can do with this thing. So I took it apart, and I used JB weld, and I patched it up thinking, you know, maybe we can get through the season with it. And like I said, that was 6 or 7 years ago, and this thing still runs, which is unbelievable. Another time that I used it, it was all jammed up. The mice had jammed the inside of this cover with insulation, and this, you know, this cooling fan that's on top of the engine got just stripped off. Actually, maybe that might have happened when he ran the log into it. I don't know, but I know I replaced that cooling fan thing on the top of the engine, and I can see that right now the mice have been in here again. There's insulation jammed up in there, so I'm going to pop this cover off. If there's a bunch of insulation in there, I'll get that out just so the thing has a chance to cool. I'll check the oil, make sure it's, you know, I just don't want it to die on my watch. It's not long for the world, but hopefully it doesn't die today. As expected, I got a pretty good mouse nest in here. So I'll get this cleaned out, and then we'll see how the crack in the engine's looking. All right, I got the mouse nest out. So here, this is what I was talking about, where it was cracked. And it was cracked. There's kind of a, it's kind of like a, I don't know, like a fin thing up here. It's actually still kind of bent back out of the way. There used to be a bolt in there. And actually that was bent, I forgot, that was actually bent back into the flywheel too. So I can't remember if I actually pried that out a little bit, but then I put this big wad of JB weld on there. And I don't know, from what I can see, I don't think this thing's, it's got a little oil here and there, but it's amazing that that's held up that long. So I guess it's good enough. It might be leaking just a little bit out of the top, but clean it up. As far as I can tell, this thing will keep running. I don't think he's ever changed the oil on this once. I probably should do that, but I'm not gonna mess with it. Good enough. I'll put it back together and let's put it to work. All right, I gotta take a break and eat some lunch. Got a decent start, a couple nice piles. So far, this is all oak I've been splitting. And I've not even made a dent in my wood pile here. Lots of oak here, and once I get up there, it's hickory. This stuff has been laying here so long. I'm kind of sorting through. A lot of this stuff is just kind of wet and not good wood anymore. So I'll end up scraping up what I don't want to split, and I'll just burn it. But for now, lunchtime. This thing's been cooking for at least a good couple hours now, I'd say. I'm running out of water. I got to refill it. It's boiling over, but it's got a nice simmer on it. I should mention too, I said before when I was talking about this thing that I called it a little buck, and I've been called out before for calling deer little bucks, and it's just a bad habit that I have. Being in Iowa, you know, if it's not a 160, 70, 80 inch buck, you know, a big bruiser, I have a bad habit of calling things a little buck, but it's not a little buck. It's a real respectable 8-point. So don't get mad at me for saying little buck. He's not. He's a real nice deer. All right, guys. So I got 3 pretty good piles split. Good amount of wood. I've got all the kind of smaller stuff that I can manhandle without breaking my back. Pretty well moved. I've got big rounds now, so I need to probably gonna put the grapple on the tractor so I can move some of that. I mean, you see how big some of this stuff is. That's a big log. That's a really big log. So then I've got to do some chainsaw work too to get some of the stuff ready to split. But anyway, for today, that's a good start. Now I'm going to turn my attention to this deer head. So I've had this thing simmering now for, I don't know how much you can hear the wind. It's super windy today, so I apologize for that. But I've had this thing simmering for about 4 hours. Just kind of a nice, you know, not a fast boil, just a nice simmer. That's worked really well. That works way better than doing a fast boil and trying to do this quickly. So now what I'm gonna do is take this over and I've been kind of cutting at it a little bit. As you can see, it's really a lot of that meat is off already. So lower jaw fell off. I'm gonna hit it with the power washer and we'll see. Oops, there's a hunk of meat just fell off. I'll see how much more work that I need to do. I'm gonna call that good enough. Not like this is a monster trophy or anything. This is just gonna be a decoration for my shop wall. So we gotta get in there with the needle nose and get just a little bit out of the nasal area, and then I need to blow out the inside of the skull there where the brain was. Get that cleaned out. I'll do that with the air gun. But there you go. All right, that thing makes life so much easier. I don't know what I'd do without that grapple. But now I got a bunch of these big rounds pulled out so I can bring the splitter up beside that, get those split up. This stuff all is gonna need some chainsaw work. Got some more longer ones over here that I need to get picked out, but for now I can get those big rounds and then I can pull a bunch of this stuff out, and I'll have a lot of progress made once I get that done. So that is probably good for now. I'll keep working away at this, get it whittled down. Before I bring the splitter back, I'd like to have, at least half of this split. It's kind of my goal, I'm hoping. And just a final update on the European mount here. I've let this soak in soapy water just to get a little bit of some of the kind of the grease and stuff off it, but I'll take it out in the sun. But that thing turned out really good. I'm happy with that. Really happy. It's pretty darn clean. There's a few little bits on there that I need to pick off yet, but you know, I said before that maceration is my preferred method for cleaning these heads. And I will say it is nice because literally you can just throw the whole head in the bucket, hide and all, and bacteria will just eat it away and just kind of let it work. But definitely if you're going to boil it, the key is don't try to do a fast boil. You know, like when I did this the first time, the only other time that I tried to boil one of these, I just boiled it for, I don't know, maybe like an hour or two, and I spent a bunch of time picking away at it. But this time, I think I boiled it for 4 hours. I don't even think it would hurt to go 5 hours just to loosen up every last little bit. The key is just to get it to a nice simmer, not a hard boil, just a nice simmer, and worked out really well. Happy with it. Well, that's going to be it for today, guys. I appreciate you watching. I got a bunch done. A lot of wood split. I got a ways to go yet, but good start, real good start. European mount turned out good, and I'm not going to mess with the tool trailer today. I'm going to save that for another day, and we'll get that knocked out before the end of the week when I got to get on to this next project that I'm starting. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next video.